Tonight, we confront a story that strikes at the very heart of American identity. Ford, an icon, a symbol of innovation and resilience, a name woven into the fabric of our nation's history, has been forced to halt its factory operations. For over a century, Ford has represented the American dream, hard work, progress, and the promise of a better tomorrow. But tonight, those assembly lines stand still, and the silence is deafening. This isn't just a business move, it's a shockwave that ripples through entire communities and the broader economy. The closure of a single plant means more than lost jobs. It means uncertainty for families, shuttered storefronts on Main Street, and a sense of loss that's hard to measure. The impact is immediate and deeply personal for thousands who depend on Ford for their livelihoods. The cause? A relentless tariff war, ignited by former President Trump, now threatening the very fabric of American manufacturing. What began as a political maneuver has escalated into a full-blown crisis, with tariffs driving up costs, straining international relationships, and putting American jobs on the line. The effects are being felt not just in boardrooms but in living rooms across the country. For decades, Ford's assembly lines have been powered by a vast, intricate global supply chain, parts and materials flowing in from every corner of the world. Now, tariffs have thrown that system into chaos. Shipments are delayed, costs are soaring, and the once smooth rhythm of production has ground to a halt. The ripple effects are being felt by suppliers, shippers, and workers alike. The shutdown isn't just an American problem, it's a warning for the entire global marketplace. Stock markets are reacting, international partners are watching closely, and the world is reminded of just how interconnected our economies have become. When a giant like Ford falters, the tremors are felt far beyond our borders. This is about more than cars or economics. It's about people. Workers who have given decades to the company, families who have built their lives around the factory, and small businesses that depend on the steady hum of industry. Their futures are now uncertain, their dreams put on hold. The human cost of this shutdown is impossible to ignore. When Ford stumbles, the nation's confidence is shaken. It forces us to confront difficult questions about the future of American manufacturing, our place in the global economy, and the policies that shape our lives. The sense of pride and security that once came with a job at Ford has been replaced by anxiety and doubt. Today, September 23, 2025, may be remembered as a turning point, a day when the course of American industry changed forever. Headlines across the nation mark this moment, and historians may one day look back and see it as the beginning of a new era. The silence on Ford's factory floor is more than just the absence of noise, it's a symbol of a nation at a crossroads. The machines are still, but the questions they raise are louder than ever. What comes next? Can we rebuild, or is this the end of an era? In the coming moments, we'll break down how we got here, what it means for you, and where we go next. We'll hear from experts, workers, and families whose lives have been upended, and we'll explore the broader implications for America's future. Stay with us as we investigate this unfolding crisis, seeking answers and hope in uncertain times. To understand today's crisis, we must look back. Tariffs, taxes on imports, have shaped American industry since the nation's founding. For much of history, they fueled fierce debate, pitting protectionism against free trade. After World War II, the world moved toward lower trade barriers, believing tariffs had worsened the Great Depression. But as jobs moved overseas, anger grew in places like the Rust Belt. Donald Trump tapped into this frustration, promising tariffs would bring jobs back. His America First policy targeted steel, aluminum, and Chinese goods, sparking global retaliation. The auto industry, reliant on global supply chains, was caught in the crossfire. The Ford shutdown is a direct result of this ongoing trade war. This crisis is years in the making. Trump's tariffs on steel and aluminum sent shockwaves through the auto industry, raising costs and uncertainty. Automakers like Ford warned these policies would make American vehicles less competitive. Trump dismissed concerns, touting tariffs as a win for U.S. steel, while companies scrambled to adapt. As tariffs expanded to auto parts and electronics, Ford faced a stark choice: absorb costs, raise prices, or overhaul supply chains. Even after a change in administration, many tariffs remained, pushing Ford to a breaking point. The shutdown is the delayed but direct result of a trade policy that continues to reverberate. On September 15, 2025, Ford announced it would halt production at its Flat Rock, Michigan plant. The reason: soaring material costs and supply chain chaos driven by tariffs. The plant, home to the iconic Mustang, employed 3,500 workers and produced nearly 1,000 vehicles a day. The shutdown means lost jobs, lost revenue, and no clear timeline for reopening. Trump denied responsibility, blaming the current administration, while the United Auto Workers Union called it a catastrophic failure of leadership. Emergency meetings are underway, but for now, thousands face an uncertain future. The shutdown has become a political football, but for workers, it's a devastating reality. A cloud of uncertainty hangs over the community. Beyond the headlines and statistics, there are real people whose lives are being upended in ways that numbers can't capture. Every day, as the factory gates close, families are left to pick up the pieces, facing an uncertain future that no one prepared them for. Take David, a 52-year-old assembly worker who followed in his father's footsteps, dedicating decades of his life to Ford. For him, the factory wasn't just a job, it was a legacy, a source of pride, and a promise of stability. Now, with retirement finally in sight, David faces the daunting prospect of starting over from scratch. The security he counted on for his golden years has vanished almost overnight. They promised tariffs would protect us. Now look, he says, his voice tinged with disbelief and frustration. The promises made by politicians and executives now ring hollow in the echo of empty assembly lines. Maria, a young robotics technician, poured her energy and hopes into building a future at Ford, believing innovation would secure her place in a changing industry. We're told to innovate, to adapt, to learn new skills. But then, politics pulls the rug out from under us, she laments, her dreams now clouded by uncertainty. For workers like David and Maria, the shutdown means far more than just lost paychecks. It's the loss of health insurance, the erosion of hard-earned pensions, and the shattering of a sense of security that once seemed unbreakable. Families across the community now wonder how they'll afford groceries, pay the rent, or cover medical bills. The anxiety seeps into every aspect of daily life, from the dinner table to the doctor's office. Local food banks and community centers are bracing for a surge in need, as more and more families turn to them for help. The ripple effects of the shutdown are felt far beyond the factory walls. The closure has torn a hole in the social fabric of the town. Once busy streets are now quiet, and the path to recovery will be long and uncertain. In union halls and break rooms, workers express a mix of anger, fear, and confusion. Some blame the company for abandoning them, others point fingers at politicians for broken promises and failed policies. They find themselves caught in a game of power and policy far above their heads, with little control over the outcome. These are the faces behind the headlines, the men and women who bear the true cost of the trade war, whose stories are too often overlooked. Their struggles and resilience remind us that economic policies aren't just abstract debates, they have lasting, deeply personal consequences for real people and entire communities. The impact of the shutdown ripples far beyond the factory. Local suppliers, diners, and stores face their own crises as orders and customers vanish. Tax revenues drop, threatening public services and deepening the community's struggles. Nationally, the shutdown shakes confidence in U.S. manufacturing and could drive up car prices. The Federal Reserve and policymakers are watching closely for signs of a broader slowdown. Globally, the shutdown signals risk. Foreign investors may hesitate and rivals may exploit America's self-inflicted wounds. The closure of one factory weakens America's economic influence. In the chess game of global trade, this is a costly move. We asked top experts to explain the fallout from recent trade policies and their broader implications on the economy. Dr. Emily Carter, a renowned trade economist, says, "Tariffs on steel and aluminum hurt U.S. manufacturers more than they help. While intended to protect domestic industries, they inadvertently raise costs for manufacturers who rely on these materials, leading to higher prices for consumers and reduced competitiveness globally." Mark Zandi of Moody's notes, "Tariffs may save a few steel jobs, but they cost tens of thousands elsewhere. The ripple effect is profound, impacting not just the steel industry but also sectors like automotive and construction, which are heavily reliant on steel and aluminum. The auto sector is the canary in the coal mine, signaling deeper issues within the manufacturing landscape. As costs rise, companies are forced to make tough decisions, often resulting in job cuts and plant closures." Dr. Sarah Chen, a political scientist, adds, "Tariffs were a blunt tool for political leverage, but the real cost is paid by American workers. The intended political gains are overshadowed by the economic hardships faced by families across the nation." Industry analyst Michelle Krebs warns, "Automakers plan years ahead. The uncertainty created by tariffs disrupts these plans, leading to hesitancy in investment and innovation, which are crucial for staying competitive in a rapidly evolving market. Tariffs created uncertainty, and the Flat Rock shutdown is the result. This closure is not just a local issue, but a reflection of a larger trend affecting the entire industry. The consensus among experts is clear: this was a self-inflicted wound, not just for Ford but for the entire industry. The repercussions are felt across the supply chain, affecting suppliers, dealers, and ultimately consumers. The political gamble failed to deliver its promises. Instead of strengthening the economy, it has led to increased tensions and uncertainty in international trade relations. The real tragedy is the damage to American competitiveness. As factories close and jobs are lost, the nation's ability to lead in manufacturing diminishes. The lesson is clear. Trade policy has real, sometimes devastating consequences. Policymakers must consider the broader impact of their decisions on the economy and the livelihoods of everyday Americans. The cost is measured in lost jobs and lost opportunities. As industries struggle to adapt, the workforce faces an uncertain future, highlighting the need for thoughtful and strategic economic policies. The Ford shutdown instantly became political ammunition in Washington. Democrats blame Trump's tariffs, calling the shutdown a predictable disaster. Republicans shift blame to the current administration, citing inflation and regulation. Both sides use the crisis to score points, while workers are caught in the crossfire. Lawmakers from manufacturing states face tough questions from constituents. The debate over America's role in the global economy is more polarized than ever. The fate of Flat Rock's workers is now a symbol in a bitter political war. As the shock fades, Flat Rock's workers face an uncertain future. Some may transfer, others will search for new jobs, often with lower pay and fewer benefits. Ford must decide whether to fight for the plant's survival or adapt to a new reality. Policymakers are forced to confront the real-world impact of trade decisions. The debate over tariffs must move beyond politics to focus on real consequences for workers and communities. The silent assembly line asks, what is America's vision for manufacturing? Will we build walls or invest in innovation and global leadership? The answer will shape the future for Ford's workers and for us all.